mentioned. What do you do to stay on top of state and federal policies and politics that are chipping away at local control? And if you have an opinion that differs, well, we'll do that. So we'll do that next. Yes, so what do you do to stay on top of state and federal politics and policies that are chipping away at local control? And we'll start with Jessica on this one.
Well, Steve brought up right in the beginning that local control is one of the most important things we have in the district, and I feel strongly that we're losing it bit by bit as the state pushes more mandates on us, takes away our funding, and then limits what we're allowed to do with the tax cap. We need to stand up and fight. We need to lobby. I'm looking forward this summer to doing some lobbying with the Erie County Association of School Boards, where we go and pound on our local legislators' doors and ask them to work harder for our schools. We know that we're the small fish. We're a very small fish in East Aurora, and then we are still a small fish when you roll up to Western New York. So we really need to push the legislators to work together to make some change happen in Albany, because the downstate has a bigger voice and they win when it comes to this stuff. So we need to lobby hard for the control to take back our schools.
Here's one of those areas where we're all going to be on the same page. Mandates are killing us. I looked through the mandates that I could find in East Aurora between federal and state mandates has over 151 mandates that they have to abide by. 77% of those mandates came with little or no funding whatsoever. What that means is those funds then have to come out and be paid out of the rest of our budget. So our budget is going to pay for the mandates that are listed by the state and the federal government and taking the control away from us, because they're insisting this is what has to be done. So the local control, as Jessica just said, and I'm pretty sure pretty much all of us agree, is slowly being taken away from us. It's being taken to Albany. It's being taken to Washington. And we need to get that control back. Our school district is at the top of the food chain as far as everything that's going on here. We can't let that slip away. It won't work for our administrators, it won't work for the board, it won't work for our teachers, and most importantly, it won't work for our students.
I think I'll finish the remarks I was making earlier. They're actually, one of the things that Bill mentioned earlier was the gap elimination adjustment. That is one of the most oppressive bits of regulation that has come down in a long time. And the good news is the legislature has made a commitment to eliminate that adjustment over a period of several years. So I think we can see in the next 3 or 4 or 5 years that will disappear, and that would be helpful to us. Education, at least in the state of New York and probably everywhere in the country, is probably the most regulated endeavor there is. There are more laws, rules, and regulations than you can shake a stick at. And it is a constant challenge to keep up with it. So the question is, how do you keep up with it? Well, you have to constantly be reading, you have to attend conferences, you have to meet with your colleagues from other districts, and you have to constantly engage in dialogue about this so that you understand what the regulations are, what the rules are, and so that you can find out how you can exercise local control within the requirements of the law.
I think Bill had it right on. You know, there has been a huge effort over the last dozen years for both the federal and the state government to take away local control. That is continuing. That is not something that we as a local school district, as a board, could do. That is something you need to do something about by electing people to state and federal office that can do something about that. What the school district can do is, as Dan said, become familiar with the issues, become familiar with the constraints, and find ways to work around the requirements they've given us. For example, I thought a very creative solution was what was proposed at the high school this year for physical education for athletes. That's a perfect example of meeting the requirements, but finding a way to do things more efficiently. And that's what I think we need to do more. Thank you.
And I agree with Dan. I think too often we use Albany and we use the federal government as a convenient distraction to what our role is. And our role is to provide the best education within our means and capabilities to do that. And so this discussion of the gap elimination adjustment and these things, these allow people to be mad about something. But the reality is, at the end of the day, you get a certain amount of funding and you have to make it work. And in East Aurora, we have a history of whether we're in good funding times, we make it work, and if there are times when we're not in great funding times, we pick and choose the priorities and we make it work, and we make it work better. And I think that a lot, more often than not, it's better to ignore the distractions and focus on what we can do and get it done. We've made a tremendous amount of substantive improvements to our district over the last 10 or 12 years, and I think that's what we just continue to do.